Since the early 70s, David Essex has been a star, not just as a singer and writer of pop songs, but also as a stage and screen star. Somehow, he's found it possible to divide his interests and still maintain the momentum necessary to sustain a successful career. Taking a break from flying the odd helicopter, I cornered him with the well-known Radio 2 Bush in the foyer, and we chatted away. Oh, welcome back, David, after 5 years, in the rain.
Well, that's all right. I'm used to the rain.
And this is the middle of a tour for you now, isn't it?
Yeah. We're in Dublin at this moment. We're playing Dublin tonight, and then we go to Belfast for 2 nights. And then to Scotland, to Glasgow, and then all points south.
Haven't you tired of all that yet?
I actually like it a lot. I like the thing of change. I like the immediacy of a rock concert and the directness, which, having worked in theatre, you know, there's a kind of structure to theatre, because usually they want you to do long runs. Whereas if you're doing one-night stands, it's much more direct and immediate, and it's a great way of saying thank you, really. Yeah. I enjoy it, and I love the travelling as well.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, is that in the blood, maybe?
Well, yeah, exactly. The change of the cities, not really the physical thing of travelling. And unfortunately, hotels tend to be similar. In fact, I've got a real good friend called Lou Reed. I don't know if you've heard of Lou Reed. And what Lou did in New York is that he redecorated his whole flat like a Holiday Inn, so whenever he was on tour, he'd feel at home. Which I think, right, it's a good idea, really.
You haven't done it yourself yet, no?
No, not quite, no.
Did you record for Decca when you were, what, about 4 or something?
In the 60s, I recorded for, first label I was ever on was a Philips label. And then I was on an American label called Uni, which was Universal Pictures, and then Decca. And I did one record for Pye.
It's a long way away. I mean, that would be, what, mid-60s, late 60s?
Yeah, it's from about 65. They're all massive misses.
Here's just a curious question. Do you have any of those? I mean, do you actually have the singles at home?
Somewhere, yeah.
They must be worth an awful lot of money at this stage.
They probably are, yes.
You're not a collector at all, eh?
No, I should really buy them up so no one gets to hear them.
That good, eh? So tell me about Godspell, because that is, I think, when the whole thing really began, isn't it?
Yes, well, see, the ironic thing is that I started as a musician. I started as a drummer in dance bands initially, with a big bow tie on like that. And you know those wire brushes that don't go back in?
That's right, yeah.
Stick like that. A bass drum that was higher than me, and I'd play these waltzes, you know, with a terrible tyrant on an accordion and a man playing a trumpet. It was a horrific thing, but it taught me actually very strict time. That's obviously not what I wanted to do. I had this closed and bigoted idea about blues music. I had a blinkered attitude to music initially, and I wanted to join a blues band, so I joined a blues band. It got a kind of cult following, and then everybody went off and became milkmen and got married and all that. And I was left playing the drums in a cabaret band in Italy.
How did you get to Italy?
Well, it's a fairly long story, but in short, the band turned pro, which was like the big step. I was 17. I was going to be an electrical engineer, so I threw away my chance of security, and I went off with this band. And in Italy, it all broke into pieces, and they all went. And the Italian club owner said, "Would you stay?" And I said, "Yeah." And that was great, because I was playing for jugglers and dancers and all the rest. I couldn't speak Italian, and I had all the parts to read, and I was playing. I stayed there for 3 months, came back to England, and the same manager that was managing the band said, "Do you want to be a singer?" I said, "Well, all right." And it went downhill from there, really. But the irony was that after many years on the road as a sort of blues singer, I caught pneumonia in Manchester, and he suggested the theatre. And I got a job in a repertory theatre. And after a short spell out of work after that, Godspell came along. And you're right, I mean, the thing that brought me to public notice was, in fact, a piece of theatre. It's quite ironic. And through the success level of Godspell and becoming this new hot actor, I mean, there were ridiculous reviews, like one in the Sunday Times in Britain saying, David Essex's performance is worthy of El Greco.
You believed every word of it, did you?
Me? No, I didn't know who El Greco was. But, so, with the success level of the theatre, I was able to go back to music on my own terms, which was, in fact, rock on. So I was quite happy to get back to music.
Which was a great beginning.
It was, and it was #1 in America and so on.
And I'm thinking of all the hits that you have had with CBS, firstly.
And the one that springs to mind for me certainly would be Gonna Make You a Star, which was a hit everywhere.
Yes.
And the fact that you also write all your own songs, I mean, was that something that you felt deeply inside, maybe?
Well, it's funny, you don't know you're a songwriter until you write a song and it's successful. I always wrote songs, but I didn't class myself as a songwriter. I wrote Rock On for the film I did with Ringo called That'll Be the Day. And that was turned down because they thought it was too weird. So we went on regardless and brought the record out. And then there was this kind of stamp of endorsement that I wrote songs. So that seemed to be quite good. So I carried on writing songs, and as you say, Gonna Make You a Star and all the rest I wrote.
That's what, about 1974, I think, is it?
I suppose so. I'm not very good with all that.
I think it'd be about that far back.
Yeah.
I'm thinking in terms of Stardust. Would a movie like that not have a great effect on you?
Yeah, it did have an effect on me. I mean, unfortunately, I'm an actor that doesn't really work from a technical point of view. I actually have to work from believing in the character and inside, if you like, which is unfortunate, but the only way I can do it. So to play Jim McClane, which is the character you were talking about, did have quite a serious effect on me for a couple of months after. But you see, the motivation is fundamentally different between me and that character, in as much as fame and fortune has been a kind of an interesting thing on the sidelines. Whereas I think fame and fortune was the motivation for Jim McClane. And of course, once you get fame and fortune, there's this huge vacuum which you can't fill unless you heighten your experiences through drugs or decadence or anything else. And of course, it's just it's a downward kind of falling syndrome you're into. So I didn't really have those problems, and I suppose in retrospect, although it was a painful character to play, because we were filming David Essex concerts, and I remember the director going out saying, "No, don't say we want David, say we want Jim." So I was out there as me with Keith Moon and Dave Edmunds, Nick Lowe and all these people, and I was me, and they were relating to me, but they were saying somebody else. I had this identity crisis going on, but fundamentally it was a good kind of barometer for me. It kind of underlined the fact that success, fame, fortune, all those things are really just things to, if that happens, fine, but really what is important is the work you're doing and to get fulfillment from it. So in many ways the film underlined that for me.